It's been a few days since we saw Qi'ra's return to Star Wars storytelling, and as great as that reveal was, and as excited as I am to see where this story goes, I do have a completely out-of-universe concern that I've seen expressed by others online as well. What does this mean for the possibility of Qi'ra's story continuing in live action? If you didn't read the comic, just to catch you up real quick, it's revealed that Qi'ra and Crimson Dawn are responsible for stealing Han Solo's carbonite slab from Boba Fett. They've been lying low for years, it would seem, but they're ready to reveal themselves again. For what purpose? We don't know yet. Honestly, I think it's a brilliant move on Soul's part. Bringing Qi'ra back immediately raises the stakes for the series. She's basically become the protagonist for me because I like her and I want her to succeed, and I have no clue what her fate will be. Up until this point, people were thinking the story would be good, but we know it ultimately ends with Han still captured and Boba Fett surviving. That's still true, but the story is no longer about them to me. It's about Qi'ra. While that's great for the comic, does it make a live-action return for Qi'ra or any live-action continuation of the Solo story less likely? I don't know, maybe. I do wonder if this story was given the go-ahead because there are no active plans to continue those Solo plotlines on a bigger platform. Obviously, Qi'ra showing up in between episodes 5 and 6 doesn't mean she can't show back up before episode 4, but it does now lower the stakes for any continuation of Solo that involves Qi'ra because now we know she survives. But if this comic is showing me anything, it's that the stakes for any story can drastically change in an instant. I was looking forward to War of the Bounty Hunters, but I thought the stakes would be pretty low. Until Qi'ra showed up. Saying the stakes of any Solo sequel, movie, or series would be low because we know pretty much all the major players will survive is a very surface-level way of looking at things. Not to mention, characters living or dying isn't the only way to create stakes in a story. Thinking back to the Legends Han Solo book trilogy by A.C. Crispin, Han had a similar love interest to Qi'ra, someone that would occasionally come in and out of his life, someone he wanted to be with, but it just never worked out. She betrays him and they part ways, and obviously she is alive at that point. She does die later, fighting for the Rebel Alliance, and Han is sad when he hears about it, but her survival wasn't the emotional center of that story. It was her choice between love and duty and Han's reactions to it, and I thought that story was fantastic. I could see something very similar play out between Han and Qi'ra. Or maybe the story ends and he thinks she's dead and he's heartbroken about it. Then she reveals herself to be alive, and throughout this comic she will actually free herself from the criminal underworld, something Han wanted for her, and he will never know about it. There's something very tragic about that, but I still like it. Also, the initial plan for Solo was to be a trilogy that built up into a criminal syndicate war, and while it's not outright stated, I would say the scene between the Hutt Council hints at that. They are definitely very aware of Crimson Dawn and Maul. They know Maul disappeared and they don't know who's in charge now. It's still very vague, probably purposefully, so that if or when they dive back into that story, it can fit together nice and easy. Although one Hutt does specifically say they miss Crimson Dawn parties, and that's an odd thing to say about someone you may have gone to war with, but whatever. I'm just saying, and I'm talking to myself here because I had these same thoughts, Qi'ra appearing at this point in the timeline does not mean she can't show up earlier, where any potential Solo sequel, movie, or series would have likely taken place. And to say there's no point in telling that story because we know who lives and dies is such an uncreative response. Again, I'm saying that to myself because these are the exact thoughts that I had. And who knows, maybe they're using the comics to gauge fan interest in returning to that part of the universe. Or maybe they're really gonna blow our minds and they'll announce the Crimson Dawn series at the end of War of the Bounty Hunters. Do not get your hopes up on that, it's probably very unlikely, I'm just saying it would be cool. And I don't think Qi'ra appearing in this comic means it's a death sentence for any live-action version of Solo 2. And wouldn't you know it, but I saw Lucasfilm Story Group member Matt Martin comment on this very issue as I was writing the script, and he said, there's a lot of years in between those stories, so there are plenty of opportunities out there for the future. So there you go. He's a much greater authority on this than I am. If he's saying it's still possible, then it's still possible. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.